Today, we're diving into a fascinating new forecast from the IMF. It's painting a picture of a major shift in global economic power, and we're going to break it down by looking at two heavyweights, the established G7 and the fast-rising BRICS Plus. So it all boils down to one huge question. Who's actually winning the global economic race? It seems like a simple question, but the answer gets more and more interesting every year. And the data for 2025, well, it gives us a really compelling clue. So, in one corner, you've got the G7, the legacy powers. These are the big, advanced economies that have basically been running the show for decades. And in the other corner, you have the BRICS Plus, the rising challengers. This is a growing group of emerging economies, and they are definitely ready to shake things up. All right, let's start with the familiar faces. Let's take a look at the G7. How is this bloc of established economic leaders expected to do as we head into 2025? Okay, so the US is leading the pack here with a projected 2% growth, which is pretty solid. But as you go down the list, you start to see a theme, a kind of modest, steady but slow growth. And then you get to Germany at just 0.2%. That really shows some of the challenges these big, mature economies are facing. It really paints a picture of stability, sure, but not a lot of room for explosive growth. So when you average it all out, the G7 as a whole is projected to grow by just 1%. That's it. It's growth, which is good, but it's definitely what you'd call a slow and steady pace. Now remember that number, 1%. Okay, so now let's flip the coin and turn our attention to the other side of this economic matchup, the BRICS Plus bloc. And as you're about to see, the numbers here tell a very, very different story. Yeah, this is not slow and steady. This is dynamic. I mean, look at the top. You've got Ethiopia and India projected to grow at an incredible 7.2% and 6.6%.
Wow.
And even as you go down the list, countries like China, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia are all posting numbers above 4%. This is a picture of some serious high-octane growth across a really diverse group of countries. And here it is. This is the headline number, folks. The average projected growth for the entire BRICS Plus bloc is 3.8%. Now remember the G7's 1.0%? Yeah, this is nearly 4 times higher. The difference is just staggering. And just to put a fine point on it, look at Ethiopia's forecast alone. At 7.2%, that's more than 7 times the G7 average. If you need one data point to show the kind of powerful economic momentum that's building in this bloc, that's the one right there. So let's put these two stories together, because when you actually see the average growth rates right next to each other, the contrast becomes, well, it's impossible to ignore. And here it is, side by side. On the left, you've got the G7's 1% growth, and on the right, you have the BRICS Plus bloc just towering over it at 3.8%. You really don't need to be an economist to see what's going on here. That is a huge gap. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. We're talking about a nearly 4-fold difference in the projected economic growth rate. This is between the world's established powers and its rising challengers. That's a massive signal. But look, these are just numbers on a chart, right? This kind of growth gap has real tangible implications. So what is this forecast truly telling us about the future of the global economy? Well, this kind of difference suggests we could be seeing a fundamental shift in the world's economic center of gravity, moving away from the traditional West and more towards the East and the South. If you're an investor, this data is like a giant flashing sign, pointing to where the real dynamic growth and probably the opportunity is going to be. And of course, that's going to influence international policy and completely reshape trade deals for years to come. This probably isn't just a one-off forecast. It could very well be a preview of a long-term global trend. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Based on what we're seeing in this data, are we literally watching the economic map of the 21st century being redrawn right before our eyes? It's a powerful thought, and it's definitely something worth keeping a very close eye on.